Boston College needed to land Carter Gooden, and all signs look like he's heading out west.
You are Locked On Boston College, your daily podcast on the Boston College Eagles. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black of Eagle Insider, part of the 247 Network. If you're looking for a daily Boston College podcast, available 5 days a week, free on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, you are in the right place. I've covered Boston College for over a decade. I have all the news, the analysis, and the scoops that you need to get up to date on your Boston College Eagles. Today, EA Sports releases their new NCAA football game. I'll give you my thoughts on where BC is at in this game and whether it gives a warning of what this season could be like. I'm going to also go over one of the biggest under-the-radar get for Boston College in 2026. I'll tell you who that is, and it's not someone that came during official visit season. I'll explain who I'm thinking this person is in just a moment. And let's kick it off with the bad news of the night. Now, if you have been following along on 247, you know that there are crystal balls. That is experts, such as myself, that go ahead and put a crystal ball to pick a player to either go to Boston College or go away from Boston College. Well, Carter Gooden, the top 247 recruit, number 69 in the country from Tabor Academy, originally from Canada. He's not a local recruit. He has been, between Boston College, Penn State, and UCLA. This would have been a game-changing recruit for Boston College, but I placed a crystal ball in. The staff of 247 placed a crystal ball in, and they're picking Carter Gooden to go to UCLA, and I am picking Carter Gooden to go to UCLA from everything I've heard. Now, this is tough news for BC. This could have been the biggest recruit BC had landed in decades. This would have been quite the way for Bill O'Brien to put his stamp on Boston College and the way he was planning on changing the outcome and everything going on with the Eagles. But when you're playing against the Big Ten in the game of recruiting, you either have to hit it out of the ballpark or risk that there's going to be other factors that are going to make your life harder. We don't know what Carter Gooden has chosen yet. At the time of this recording, he hasn't chosen anything. But everyone that I've talked to makes it sound like he's heading to UCLA. Now, if BC loses him, how do you view the official visit season for Boston College? I said on BC on Eagle Insider yesterday afternoon that this keeps BC around a B- C+ for how they ended up with the official visit season. You lost out on Marky Walbridge. You lost out on Kai Pritchard. There was a handful of defensive tackles that you were looking at. And then if you add in Carter Gooden, that means you batted about 250 for the guys that you really, really wanted. Because you got Femi Babalola, but that was about it. Not the outcome that you were hoping for. But I say this again. Winning changes everything. And if you really believe that Bill O'Brien can take Boston College and win games with his coaching, then you know that the wins are going to come. If you look at the 2025 schedule, even if you think that their roster isn't as deep as it needs to be or as talented as it needs to be, and you think to yourself, they're going to win more games, 2027 will be different. 2028 will be different. But he's got to win those football games. There are multiple factors in place that have kept Boston College out of the running on many bigger recruits. NIL is definitely one of them. But also, you have to consider that BC has been in a rut for seemingly forever, where 6 or 7 wins is the max of what these recruits see. If you're an older alumni or even someone who's, in their 40s, you remember the days of Matt Ryan. You remember those days where they were ACC, runner-ups. But guess what? These recruits don't. They're 18 years old. They don't remember that. That was before their time. So Bill O'Brien needs to start winning. That will help. And when you win, that's going to bring in NIL donations. And when those NIL donations come in, that's when you can start winning these recruiting battles. This is an absolute disappointment. There's no way to sugarcoat this. This was a guy that Carter Gooden would have been a recruit that really would have been the face of this program and brought excitement. To lose him, there's no way to say anything other than it stinks. That's all it is. From here, there's no other recruits out there that have the pedigree that Carter Gooden has. But I'll say this as well. When you're recruiting, a lot of times, these recruitments are not over. They're going to continue to recruit Carter Gooden, and with good reason, because you have Bill O'Brien, a longtime tenured head coach who knows how to win. UCLA, if they end up with Carter Gooden, they have Deshaun Foster, who has a couple years of experience. There is a better chance that UCLA falls apart than anything else that BC could hope for here. If UCLA falls apart, there's a chance that BC could jump in and steal him back. He could be a guy, if he ends up with the Bruins, if they don't play well, maybe this is a flip candidate. Remember, yes, a commitment is hard, and many times a commitment is it. But these recruitments don't end until December. And BC's staff knows that, and UCLA's staff knows that. So this is not a done deal here. If this is what happens, if Carter Gooden picks, and it sounds like Marcus Almada, his teammate who BC never showed interest in, might end up there as well. There is a chance that if UCLA falls apart, that he could end up at Boston College. Now they got Nico, that quarterback from Tennessee. There's excitement at UCLA. I get it. And they're Big Ten. Obviously, they're going to have more rev share to throw around. But BC needs to win this. Win something eventually. And if they don't do it with Carter Gooden, they need to start winning on the field first. Now, there's other BC targets still out there that took official visits to BC. I thought things had gotten really quiet with Amir Clark, a defensive tackle out of Osceola, Florida. He's now released his top 4, and it's BC, Rutgers, Syracuse, and UCF. I have not heard a single thing about him, so I'm not sure where BC lands, and I would honestly be probably kind of skeptical if they're in this still, but he's going to announce on Thursday. On the 12th, Jordan Best, a cornerback who had an official visit to BC, he's going to announce. I'm not sure where either of these guys are going to land, but there are 2 new names to watch. Not new names, but names that have been associated with BC that are going to make their commitments. Will Boston College jump in and make those splashes? Be something to watch. Now, if I'm a betting man, I would say, here's my bets. You can take me to, I'm not making crystal balls on these ones. I'm going to say Amir Clark ends up at Syracuse and Jordan Best ends up at NC State. That's my guess. I could be wrong, but that's where my guess is right now. That being said, Boston College still has the 32nd best recruiting class according to 247. It is a step in the right direction. This is not like, yes, BC did not do the Syracuse thing where they took a huge step forward, but they have taken a step forward, and that's where it needs to happen. Even if they don't make any more moves, they're going to be higher than last year. Last year, they were 69th in the country. They're going to be higher. There's still a chance they can be a top 30, top 40 recruiting class. Step in the right direction. That's what you need from your Boston College Eagles. Now, in our second segment, I want to talk about under the radar, because that seems to be a theme right now. With the jokes about the 3 stars and everyone saying that they need to get more 4 stars, who is someone under the radar-ish that I think could be a real big, valuable asset. I have one name I really want to talk about, and I'll get into that in just a moment. Have you ever decided at the last minute to head to a ball game with family or friends? I know I have. Maybe it's game day and you suddenly realize you want to be in the stands. That's exactly where Game Time comes in. It's the easiest way to grab last minute tickets without the stress. With the money you save on tickets, you can splurge on food, drinks, merch, or invite a bigger group to come with you. Game Time makes that all possible. Game Time makes buying tickets fast and simple. Prices on the app actually drop the closer you get to first pitch, and they've got incredible last-minute deals, clear seat views, and a lowest price guarantee that takes the worry out of buying. I'm going to go again to the Woo Sox in a couple weeks. They got a big bluey day the day that I'm going. I got to make sure I get my tickets, and I know we're going to get them. Not on the Woo Sox site, but on Game Time, because I know I'm going to get my lowest price guarantee, and I'm going to get the seats that I want. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONCOLLEGE for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. This is Locked On Boston College, your team every day. I'm your host, AJ Black, and I want to thank every first listen out there. All of you first listeners who choose Locked On Boston College, the first thing you wake up to every morning. You are the MVPs of this show. You make this podcast possible. You bring advertisers here, and I want to thank each and every one of you for making that choice. It really does make a difference. Now, with Carter Gooden expected to probably be committing to UCLA, the next big question is who on this class of 2026 is going to stand out for BC? Now, I have talked at length about the developmental guys that BC has brought in, whether it is Bruno Warner from Germany, an offensive tackle who's 6'9", big kid. Xavier Myers, a 6'3" defensive back who's also a track star. You've brought in, linebackers like Makai Volsey from Bedford, Massachusetts, a athletic freak who could do a ton of different things. And all of those guys are players that honestly I think have upsides that Bill O'Brien and his staff will be able to maximize to make BC the best team that they can be. But when I say that there's one recruit that's under the radar, I'm talking nationally under the radar. Guys that maybe have decent offers but aren't blue chips. They're not Mason Leak. They are not Kai Pritchard, who's committed elsewhere, or Marky Walbridge. This is a guy that has a handful of decent offers, but I look at him and I say to myself, if he had not committed to BC, he would have had a lot more offers. If he camped, he would have had a lot more offers, and it would have been a lot harder for Boston College to land this recruit. And I'm going to go to the defensive side of the ball, and I'm going to go for a guy that committed before official visit season started. So this is a guy that has been part of BC's committed class since the winter. This was a recruit that BC did not show. I felt like was not not recruiting him as hard as they could have, but then saw his junior film and went in really hard. And this is Xaverian brother edge rusher Dominic Funke. You're saying to yourself, AJ, this is a guy that had decent offers. Yes, he did have decent offers. But he's not, I don't consider Dominic Funke a national recruit. And what I expect that he could do should make him a national recruit, because this is a kid, his junior year, that blew the heck up at Xaverian Brothers. This is an edge rusher that is as good as anyone you have on your roster and could blow up. He has first of all, let's just talk physical characteristics. He is going to be a senior in high school. He looks like a college player already. He's built like an edge rusher. He's muscle, he's fast, he's athletic. That's what you need. And he's done it already at the high school ranks. When you get him here, he's going to develop into a very solid edge rusher. I think Dom Funke is a story that doesn't get enough publicity for what kind of recruit BC landed. Because as I said before, he had offers from Wisconsin, Pittsburgh, Syracuse, Rutgers, a lot of these schools that you hear BC battling with. But I think if BC did not land his commitment, if he went into official visit season, camp season, and just kind of rolled the dice, there would have been bigger programs looking at him. I can guarantee that. And if they did, that would have made him a lot harder to get here. But I want to credit Jonathan DiBiaso, the staff. They realized what they had. Dom Funke, a multiple legacy, because you have Jack Funke, his brother, on the offensive line. You have Gerard Funke, who played with Doug Flutie. You have a family of Funkes who all were, associated with BC. You did not let that legacy end. You went in hard and you landed him. It only took BC showing strong interest in Dom Funke for them to close the deal and end that. Now he is a recruiter for them. He is working hard to keep, he's not going anywhere. And I think when you look at what your edge rusher position will develop into in 2-3 years down the road, Dom Funke is going to be at the top of that list of guys that you have that could end up being one of your premier pass rushers. That's what I think you have there. And yes, he did have other offers, but BC did the smart thing and got him before he blew up. Because how many recruits has Boston College identified and recruited, but let them kind of not commit yet, and then they blow up, and then you have no chance at them. It happens so often. You guys out there are probably going, you can remember some of the recruits that they've not landed, that BC identified early. They had camps or whatever, and then all of a sudden they have 12 offers, some of them SECs and gone. If they had let Dom Funke do that, he would be somewhere else. But they didn't. BC understood the value that this kid could bring. And yes, he's not a 4-star recruit. Yes, he doesn't have a huge offer list. But Dom Funke as an edge rusher is what you need at Boston College. He is the type of dynamic edge rusher who can do the things that Donovan Azaraku could do or Zach Allen could do. He's going to have to build it up, but that's what he's all about. Even though you probably have lost out on Carter Gooden, you still have 2 edge rushers coming in that should get Boston College fans excited. Dom Funke and Mason Leak. Mason Leak is a top 247 4-star recruit. He goes to now Avon Old Farms. You have 2 edge rushers is exactly what you want to do. Maybe you bring in Good. If you do end up losing Good, maybe you end up bringing him in to add to this. But these 2 right now, that's still a positive. Yes. I am not sugarcoating losing Carter Gooden. That still is a tough pill to swallow. But it's not dire straits. I see folks already ripping apart Bill O'Brien's recruiting. Yes, he has not landed the big-time recruits that you're hoping for, but you can see it building. That's what he's all about. It's about building. It's, taking that step this year, taking that step next year. Because sometimes if you're a coach that's going to take those leaps, sometimes if you take a big leap, you're going to hit. And then other times you're going to take that leap and fall flat on your face. If you take incremental steps, you're building a program in the right direction. And I think that's what Bill O'Brien's doing. Now, in our final segment, let's talk EA Sports' new NCAA football game. I got a hold of the rosters, and I want to tell you my thoughts on where things are at. and what it says about BC. I'll get into all of that in just a moment. This is Locked On Boston College. I am your host, AJ Black. And for all of you who have made us your first listen every day, I want to thank you. And for our everydayers, if you listen to Locked On Boston College 5 days a week, it's part of your daily routine. You know, we talk about everything Boston College. You're not going to find this anywhere else. There's other great podcasts out there, but we are the only daily Boston College podcast that does this 20 to 25 minutes every day that gives you everything you need to know about your Boston College Eagles. And if you're looking for a second listen, check out Locked On Celtics with John Corrales. Celtics are making crazy moves. He's got all the details, and I wouldn't trust anyone else but John Corrales. So check that out on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. Now, on Monday, the new EA NCAA 26 football game came out for those who bought the bundle. And I have already said on our podcast, I probably am not buying the game, though I'm already starting to regret that, and I probably will end up buying the game, but I already said I won't buy it, and I probably need to make sure I don't buy it. But for folks that bought, I think it's with Madden, and you get a whole bunch of things with it. The new game is out, and you can see what's available. And for Boston College fans, you get to see your roster. There's some interesting things to think about. For instance, at quarterback, the quarterback battle between Grayson James and Dylan Lonergan, in terms of their rankings, they're divided. They're separated by 1 point. Grayson James is rated a 78. Dylan Lonergan's rated a 77. Interesting thing to think about, especially when those are you're thinking about who's going to be the starter next year. Your highest rated recruit, if you've been listening to this podcast, it's not a big surprise, is on the defensive side of the ball. It is KP Price. So he is rated an 87. He's your highest rated recruit. You have other 84s like Carter Davis, Davion Crouch, Lewis Bond. Those are your 84s. There's players that are randomly missing that just aren't in the game. I look at Bryce Steele, just not there. You have most of your freshmen are just not there, which is okay, but Nedrick Bolden's still in there. Amarian Davis is there. Even the newer, the freshmen that came in early, like Shaker Reisig, he's not in there. Andy Quinn is not in there. Basically your special teams on there is like the repeat of last year. You have Liam Connor and a bunch of computer names. That's it. Your team is rated a 78, which I think I haven't seen what the other team rankings are, is pretty low. I don't think they have a lot of faith. Your defense is rated higher, which I don't agree with. I think your offense is probably a little stronger than your defense, but that's where they have it. All your newer players, Jason Hewlett, actually not all of them. Chris Marable's in there, but Jason Hewlett's not in there. Tommy Matheson's not in there. You have some of your other transfers. It's so haphazard right now. Like Onye Nuisi is in there, the transfer from Valpo at defensive edge, but Favor Bate is not in there. Why? I have no idea. I have no idea. Now, the cool thing about this, now you can see, if you want to get the rankings, it's all up on Eagle Insider. Go check out my website. I got them from Mitch Wolf. We put them up. Now, the most accurate thing that I thought was really cool is the face sculpture of Bill O'Brien. It looks dead on like him. Like, if you have not checked it out, check out my Twitter, AJBlack247 and Locked On PC. They did a really good job on him. He really looks like Bill O'Brien. He's even got the dimple. It's all there. I thought that was pretty cool. Everything else, like they get the New Balance uniforms. Nothing huge and different. Like the entrance is, I guess, is slightly different. They still do the Eagle thing and come in through the banners, and they have fireworks for night games or whatever. It looks fun. I just gotta say, working in multiple jobs, I don't have time for that. I don't. Even if I bought the game, I probably play it a few weeks and get bored of it and stop. I just don't have time to do the recruiting part. I don't have time for any of it. But it does look fun. I got to say that. So hopefully if you check it out, tell me what you think in the comment section. I'd love to hear what you have to say. On tomorrow's show, we'll discuss more. Amir Clark, a defensive tackle that BC has been heavily involved in, he's making a decision soon. If I hear anything new, I'll bring it up here. Make sure you follow me on Twitter at AJBlack247. Check me out on YouTube, YouTube if you haven't already, at Locked On BC. I'm on TikTok. I keep saying this. If you want clips, I put clips from the show up, but I also put fresh clips that aren't on this podcast. Check it out there. It's also a great social media channel. I actually like TikTok a little bit more than I like Twitter. It's just an easier way to communicate with you guys. It's at Locked On Boston College, so check me out there as well. And head over to Eagle Insider if you want all my written work. Thank you all so much for checking out our show. I hope to see you all again tomorrow for another episode of Locked On Boston College, your team every day.